This is Larry the Barberman, and today I'm at the ISSE in Long Beach, California, with none other than Matt Conrad. And today I'm here to learn his story on the back end of being in one of his seminars yesterday here in California. So Matt, thank you for taking time out away from your stand to give me this interview and share your story with me.
Oh, Larry, it's a pleasure. Thank you.
Basically, could you just give me a little bit of a background where it was you actually started in barbering right from the very beginning?
No, I actually didn't start as a barber. I started out about 22 years ago as a hairstylist because at the time, barbering didn't feel exciting. There didn't feel like there was a lot of kind of artistry around barbering, and barbershops were in a very steep decline and through the 90s. It was not this place to aspire to put a career. You know, it looked, in my area of the world, it looked like a bunch of old guys chained to a chair. So I got involved in hairdressing, and I started working with a bunch of technical teams, Sassoon-based stuff, everything from Tony and Guy to Bumble and Bumble, and then I ended up actually doing a job being an educator for Henkel for Schwarzkopf Professional, and I worked with them a number of years. And eventually I kind of worked my way up to working on stage and platforms and technical education and teaching, and I really enjoyed that. I always did, but it really started to kind of lose that personal nature for me. I started to fall out of love with it a little bit because the nature of the industry at the time to me started feeling a lot more about how much it was about showing off rather than showing people how to do things. It was about get up on stage and give them the razzle dazzle, not really teach, really share things. So I started to kind of fall out of love with it a little bit because it became a lot of ego for me, and I was not really that excited by it anymore, and I started feeling like maybe I was going to change careers. Around then, my grandfather passed away, and he was an amazing old guy. He was just a terrific gent. He was always well dressed, always had a part in his hair and a shine on his shoes. He was a proper gentleman, very kind man, and I looked like Rufio from the movie Hook, like as all hairdresser guys did at that point, bright chunks of red hair and looked like a daytime rock star pretty much all the time. And I remember thinking to myself, like, where did this go? What happened to the idea of the gentleman and the old classic guy and just that classic mode of handsome, the idea that being put together and having a sharp look meant showing respect for the people around you. The way you're put together and the way you present yourself to the world shows respect for others and respect for yourself. And that was a thing that was being lost, I felt. And so when my grandfather passed away, it made me think a lot about that and a lot about legacy, a lot about what is it that you want the world to be like? You know what I mean? What do you want people to say about you when you're gone? What are you leaving behind? And at that point, I started becoming obsessed with this idea of these old classic barbershops, places where like a man like that would have gone to get himself put together, to really take pride in his appearance. And this is at the time when words like metrosexual and high maintenance man kind of thing was being thrown around ad hoc by our industry. And it got to the point where I just felt, at what point did being well put together and well groomed and having respect and pride in your appearance, at what point did that make you high maintenance and fussy? Where did we lose that was just expected of a gentleman, of a man, who wanted to be a functioning part of his community? So at that point, I just started looking into these old styles. I started doing these old classic haircuts, learning from anybody I could, training with old retired master barbers. It was very hard to find education when I started, almost 10, 11 years ago. I couldn't find schools. I couldn't find people that could train me properly. So I would have to go and find these old retired guys and pay them to come and teach me classes because they thought I was crazy and I couldn't go into other barbershops. They didn't want to teach you anything. They were afraid you're just going to take their clients away. So I had to really work hard to learn it, and then very fortunately found a few good mentors to teach me these old traditional techniques and classic haircuts. And then also my background in technical haircutting really helped me with that. Those are some of the things that I really appreciate, is that I got to learn barbering techniques while not totally losing all of the technical haircutting background that I had acquired as well. And in fact, it really helped inform my own sense of style, how I approached some of these haircuts, and in ways started to develop my own style for classic barbering in the places where I felt like there were maybe some holes. And so it became just this obsession and this passion. everybody was laughing at me at the time because everybody had these like Justin Bieber, Ashton Kutcher, moppy haircuts, and I was doing these haircuts that looked like they belonged on my grandpa, and people didn't get it, and it wasn't cool, and it wasn't like what everyone was doing. So I had to kind of just keep going with it, even though it wasn't popular or trendy. It wasn't like, people were just kind of like, those are silly, why are you doing those? They look so old. And I thought they were cool. I thought there was something about them that really spoke to me on a deeper level about masculinity and about something that just felt like it had pride and dignity attached to it in a way that the modern hairdressing and modern haircuts are all moppy and bedhead kind of didn't, you know what I mean? And so for me, they just spoke to me, and it led me to open my shop. So when I opened my first shop was in 2010. It's called Victory Barber and Brand. And we opened it in a town in Canada that has maybe 300,000 people living there. It's not a huge city. It's a small city called Victoria, BC. And when I opened it, it was the biggest barbershop I had ever seen, and I legitimately thought that I had maybe gone a little crazy because I had become so obsessed with this and about history of our industry and where we came from, and there's so much to learn about it and such a rich history, and I felt such a deep personal connection to it because I had earned this knowledge for myself, and I'd really looked into it, and it's like that thing that made me feel weird a little bit, and to me, I think those things are really special, like the things that make you feel weird for liking them when no one else likes it, I think is cool because I've learned over years that is your most true self. The things that you like that you don't like because they're popular, you even feel a little strange for liking them as much as you do, the things that connect with you. But what I've learned is that is the most true you, and that is maybe one of the most valuable things you can have as a creative artist, is a connection to who you really are, the deepest things that you really speak to you. And if you can put those into your work, it makes it special. It's what makes your work stand out.
Yeah, listening to what you've said, the Bible says your treasure is where your heart is. So that is so true in your case. And I think another thing that's very true in your case, you kind of kept it real. You're into these classic haircuts. You're very well known and very popular both on social media and outside of social media, but by staying true to those classic haircuts, as much as those mop head specialists and fade specialists were laughing at you, putting one of those old classic haircuts together takes a lot of time, energy and skill, which you invested in. And I kind of think that it peaked at the right time for you, and you were one of the very few people that could understand it or do it. So that
we were very fortunate. I mean, nobody invented barbering. I know a lot of people want to claim like they were the originals or whatever. Like the word original is like just rampant in our industry. This is such and such original, or we're the original, or the OG, or whatever. Truth be told, none of us invented this, man. It's thousands and thousands of years old, and it goes back way before we were here, and it will be here long after we're gone. And so it's one of those things where I feel like we were just fortunate to be in the right place at the right time, and to have any place in its history for me is an incredible honor. It's an incredible honor to think that we're standing shoulder to shoulder with giants and people that have been doing this for not just like hundreds of years, but centuries and centuries. You know what I mean? There's a proud tradition in barbering. And as much as I know that it became really trendy and popular, and unfortunately there's an entire industry of hairdressers that like to claim barbering as its hottest new trend, it's not that. It existed before that, and I like to honor that. I like to honor that we come from a place of pride. We come from a place where we were very important in the community, and we are again. You know what I mean? And I want to see us stay that way. I don't want to see it implode from a bunch of people infighting or trying to claim this, that, or the other, or making it too corporate, or whatever it is. I really love our industry. I love the people in it. I love the brotherhood and the fellowship that it is right now, the way we're supporting each other and growing, that there's pride in our industry again. And I really hope that sticks around, and I want to do everything I can as a brand and as an icon in that industry. I want to do everything I can to support that moving forward and staying strong and being full of pride.
I would say you're absolutely doing that. After visiting your workshop yesterday, not only do you go into the visual aspect and the technical aspect of haircut, and you actually go into the psychology. That kind of threw me because I see so many educators just going into the technical aspect. You kind of go into the technical and visual and the psychology. I remember you talking about the haircut starts from the moment that the client walks through the door. If you show any form of weakness, the client will take advantage of you whilst you're trying to cut them, stop you, and constantly be the one that's checking where you should be checking. And I thought, that could dishevel a less experienced person. Talk me a little bit about your psychology. Talk me through your psychology of cutting success and barbershop success and rapport.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think one of the things I talked about in my class yesterday is I talk about establishing a mutual level of respect. Because I believe that any kind of interaction comes out of a place of respect. They either respect you or they don't. You show that you respect them or you don't. And a lot of those things come through not necessarily vocal communication, but in body language and certainly the way that we show our confidence. You know, one of the things that we're trying to do is we're not just trying to create a visual appeal for a person, we're trying to make them feel something for their haircut. So my approach has never been just purely technical because I don't believe what we do is purely technical. I think that a lot of the time, if you own a salon or if you've been in this industry a long time, you start to recognize that the technical aspect of what we do is maybe only 50% of why a person comes and sits in our chair or comes to our shop or comes and wants us to do their hair. It's not just about what we're technically able to do with their hair. It's about how we make them feel. And that's not just about what we say to them. Sometimes it's about how we conduct our service. It's about how we establish that respect through the way we shake their hand, the way we look them in the eye, the way we make them feel cared for and confident in the fact that we are confident. The way that our environment that we've created makes them feel something for the way that they look. I always built our shop from that perspective. My shop was built and filled with all these old things that reminded guys of a time, I think, when there was that feeling of confidence and that feeling of pride and dignity and that old school appeal. There's a reason why that became so popular again, and it's because I think it just slowly started to fade off since the unisex hair salon in the 1960s and all the way through. There was like this loss of pride and dignity and in men's grooming until it ultimately became about being high maintenance. Then the pendulum swung back really, really hard to a thing that I think of as kind of like a hyper masculinity, where guys were searching out that feeling of pride and confidence again. And that's what the barber shop has started to deliver again. That's what we kind of come back on. And so it's not just about how good is my haircut, how perfect is my fade. Now I'm going to take a picture for Instagram and send you out the door, your next guy. It's about getting that guy in the chair, showing him that you respect his time and showing him that he respects yours, that he respects the craft and the quality of what he's getting, that you take time to sell him that haircut. And when I say sell him that haircut, I mean like what we have here is a commodity. And if he doesn't walk out the door feeling confident, it doesn't matter how technically perfect his haircut is. All that matters is that he likes it or not, he feels good or not, he feels confident or he doesn't. And a technically perfect haircut on a guy that didn't want that haircut or doesn't feel good in that haircut is not going to matter how technically perfect it is, right? The two have to be married together. And so for me, I like to take every element of what we do, from design of the shop to the way we handle ourselves with our clients, the way we talk to them, the way we sell them that haircut, and our technical ability. And those three things coming together make for a strong experience. They make for a man that is confident in the way he looks, and they make for a lifelong relationship with those clients too. I'm not scared of my clients going off to other people. I'm not scared of them walking out the door buying products from someone else. I'm not scared of anything. I'm not scared of anything that sits in my chair, because I know that if I put those three things together, I'm not only going to have a client for life, but I'm never going to be afraid of anything that comes and sits in my chair. Because even if that haircut is something I'm afraid of and I don't feel 100% confident doing it, because there's going to be people out there that are still growing technically, that are not as experienced as a lot of successful barbers, because you got to start somewhere. The place you start is do the best you can with your technical and put those other two elements together. You still have the 2 out of 3, they're batting 100, but if all you're focusing on is your technical, then you're not going to be as good as some other people out there, and you're missing some of those other components. So for me, the 3 have to be strong. The 3 have to be strong. You can't just go technical and expect that to carry you through, because there's so many kids that cut amazing hair now. So many. I have kids in my town that are from the Philippines that work out of a garage that can fade circles around every barber I've ever met. You know what I mean? They're just technically amazing. But when it comes to all the other stuff, they don't have that there. You know what I mean? So you have to do more than just cut hair well for people to really be successful as barbers long term.
So in a nutshell, the whole Matty Conrad brand is built around integrity. I mean, I didn't quite look at it like this, but we just spoke about integrity of your brand, because you're going through a few psychological challenges with whom you wish to distribute, sell your product. So
it's almost like right now it feels like I'm going through like a small like midlife crisis or something, you know, like it's an identity issue, because I've been in the corporate end of things for quite a long time, as a national director and as a creative director for a bunch of different companies. But now I'm on my own, and it's 100% me, and I get to do everything from the ground up, from design to make the products, test the products, to marketing, to everything. Everything's all me now, and this is one of my first shows that I've been at where it's my booth. I have no safety net. It's just me and my own little team of people that I've got around me. And yeah, it's interesting because every decision that you make along the way, every single one, comes down to a matter of integrity. You know what I mean? Integrity isn't like this abstract concept. It's kind of a filter. Do you know what I mean? It's a filter through which you choose to see the world. And
your values have something to do with integrity as well.
Yeah, well, you make your decisions based out of that. And so I feel like if you have that integrity, if you hold true to those values in the small things, it makes it easier to hold true to them in the big things. You know, not every decision is going to be do you want to work with this distributor and make millions of dollars of decision right now. Sometimes it's as simple as the way you talk to one person that comes to buy your products. You know what I mean? And if you can treat everyone the same and fair and through that lens, I'm hoping it'll work out in the big picture for me. But the nicest thing is that every night I can put my head down knowing that I did right by everybody that day. You know, and that's better than any kind of commercial success you can have.
Okay, talking about integrity, I'm sure the products that you've created were created with total dignity.
I tried my best, yeah.
Tell me a little bit about the ingredients and how they could be a game changer.
Oh, yeah, I love this. Now, first of all, for me, I know I had a lot of opportunities. I got introduced to a lot of different companies that do kind of what we would call a white label, you know what I mean? So you can make a brand, all you need is a logo and a design, and you can walk in and just pick products that they have. And you can package them up as your own. That's not me. That's not at all ever what I wanted to do. I had some very strong ideas about what I wanted the products to do specifically. So when I came time to working with, finding a chemist I could work with, I worked with like 6 different chemists before I found one that I felt got what I wanted or understood the direction I wanted to go. Everything for me was really important that it was paraben, sulfate, and cruelty-free. All right, so no animal products that are derived through any kind of cruel process. Parabens and sulfates are not present in any of our products. And I try to work with as much natural ingredient as I possibly can while still keeping the high efficacy of the product. I want it to work. I mean, I know you can put lots of sap and mud and moss and whatever into products all you want, but if they don't work, they're not worth it. You know what I mean? So for me, my approach was make it as nice quality as we can with the ingredients that we're using, but keeping the functionality very high. So I have concern there, but only to a certain point. I feel like people want the best products, but they want them to work. So I really focused on that. When it came down to making the products themselves, I tested everything. I tested them with my team. I've given them to people I respect for feedback. And the interesting thing is some of them are a very high number of versions. I had to keep going back and back and back. It was never quite right. You know, it was very, very like close, but not quite right. And so one of the products that is a new concept for me that I really wanted was I came into this chemist and I said, look, I don't know any products out there that are like this product, but here's what I want. I want something that feels light in the hair, that is matte and feels like there isn't a lot of product in the hair, but very obviously leaves it malleable but not heavy. Won't weigh it down, just give it a nice natural feel to it. But I want something that feels, after it's in the hair for a second, I want it to not feel like there's stuff in the hair. And she's like, well, you want a unicorn is what you want, you know? But we worked together on this product and it's called Super Dry, and it is a dry matte paste. And it is the most perfect product that I've ever used. It's my favorite one for myself. And I use it a lot on a lot of different things, creating a lot of texture and movement and softness, but with something that feels like there's not a lot in the hair. And the reason I wanted to go that direction is because it's totally oil-free, by the way, and it's silicone-free, and so it doesn't create any weight in the hair. It's totally water-soluble, which is what's so amazing about it. But what I wanted was, what I see for it is, despite the fact that I've been committed to all these old classic haircuts, what I'm not necessarily committed to is making things stay static and making things stay perfectly still. Because I recognize that even through that period in the 1940s when all these classic haircuts came out, into the 50s, we saw change. We saw variation. We saw guys like James Dean and Elvis start to change the way they wore their hair from these really slick, shiny, pomaded looks to dry, effortless, natural looks. You know, these things that was almost an act of rebellion against these perfect haircuts. And fashion always rebels against itself. You know what I mean? Whatever is trendy today will ultimately not be trendy 5 years from now, and the almost exact opposite will. You know, but what we saw is this transitional period where they got that like effortlessly wild and disheveled look, because to look too perfectly put together was almost too square at that time, you know. And so that act of rebellion, and what I'm seeing in young Hollywood right now, and what I'm seeing in some of the influencers in fashion and stuff, is I'm seeing that more deconstructed, effortless look that doesn't look like there's a lot of stuff going on. It looks like you just woke up like that, you know. I wanted my products, to not speak about our history and where we were. I want them to support that, but I want to talk about where we're going. And so a lot of the products that I designed, knowing that they were going to take a while to come out and knowing that it takes a while to get products on shelves, I wanted to talk about hair where I think it's going in the next 5 years, not where it's been the last 5 years. And I think a lot of people are competing to catch up to where it's been the last 5 years. And because of Instagram and because it is a bit of an echo chamber of current style, not future trend or what's going on, Instagram is a bit of an echo chamber in the hair industry where we're all seeing what's now, we're all seeing what's happened. A lot of the time we're not looking for the indicators of where it's going. And I've always been a bit of a historian, and I see the way things change. You can see the little telltale signs of what's likely to come. And when you start seeing it pop up in fashion, you have a little bit of a foresight into that. So for me, I see that more disheveled. I see those more matte shapes. I see those things softer and not so heavy. And I think that's where we're going. And so I tried to create products that were going to support that moving forward.
Yeah, no, I'd say that. I mean, the haircut that I saw you finished complete yesterday, it had natural shine and glow. It was natural shine and glow, yet with movement and sculpture, which is, I think you've achieved your objective, because normally when you see that kind of sculpture and movement in here, you see the sheen or the shine from gel or mousse, but that just looked like natural hair in a sculpted position.
And I feel like what we're talking about is the difference between the ability for a barber to sculpt and style something, a hair professional to style hair, versus what's a guy doing with it at home? How is he making it look at home? Is it supporting how he styles his hair? And a lot of guys lack the ability to go with a brush and a blow dryer and all these things. I mean, I've seen some great guys online doing it with like the tutorials and stuff, and they're really good at it. But 9 guys out of 10 can't pull that off. You know what I mean? And they're looking for something that makes them feel good, like smell good, look the way they want to without all the fuss and muss, you know what I mean? And so I feel like there's a big market for those guys,
And they do need to have a look. One of the third of your success thing, they need to have the technical ability. So it's got the structure. It's with no structure, no gel in the world is going gel or hair products going to help you.
You know what? To quote my very good friend Andrew Does Hair, who has the most brilliant tagline of all, it says, "Good hair doesn't come from a jar." Yeah. And I believe that it supports your technical work. It doesn't create it for you.
Okay. And do you create supporting videos for your product?
Yes, we do actually. We're making a ton of content right now. And I'm actually working collaboratively with a bunch of other brands and appearing in some of their videos as well. And they've been gracious enough to support. I'm in one of the Roosevelt videos that's coming up, the big Project X that's about to be released. I was one of 10 barbers around the world that they picked to be part of this project, which is educational in nature, and it's meant to raise money to send kids to barber school to help us grow our industry. I've also worked with Andrew Does Hair on a project called thehairjam.com, where I've done a unique concept, which is farm to table. A lot of people are looking to learn new haircuts and new techniques, but what I've done is actually I've taken those haircuts and techniques and I've gone one step further, where I've shown you on both ends of the spectrum what happens before the haircut and then what happens after, to make imagery that you can post online. So we've actually taken all of the steps rather than just the middle step to show people. We're really showing them how to do the entire package, which I think is going to be really exciting. And then I have my own personal website and our brand website, where we're building a bunch of step-by-step information and support that people are going to be able to go on. And if you're a stockist, you'll have free access to all the information, the downloads, the step-by-steps, all of the little things that we have to share on that. We're building that over right now. I think it's going to be really exciting stuff.
So you can go from zero to hero with your education, and when you get to hero, you tell them how to stay hero and show the world that they're a hero with their photography.
Well, this is it. I love the idea of getting everybody to succeed together. You know what I mean? I don't like keeping secrets that give me a competitive edge, because I don't think that's the real secret of my success. I don't think keeping my secrets that are just my little secret things that no one else knows how to do, that doesn't really make me successful. I think my success is built on other things, I hope. And so I'm happy to share those things. I'm happy to give those out. I want to see our whole industry grow together. I don't want to just see us grow above everyone else. And so being able to share all those little details with people, I think, forces you to be creative in the future as well, forces you to do new things and push your own limitations. But I think it also allows other people to grow in areas that maybe they need to, and like I said, you can't just be good at cutting hair anymore. You need something else if you really want to succeed. I can't tell you how many people DM or reach out to me to go, how can I get where you are? How can I be an educator? How can I do these things? And I said, well, first of all, have something to teach. Anybody can be an educator if you have something to teach, if you have something worth teaching. But if all you want is to be an educator, so you stand up on stage and just show everyone what you know, you're not really teaching, you're just showing off. To teach means you have to care about the people that are in front of you. You have to care about sharing with them, and you have to care about seeing them succeed, not just your own success.
Yeah, so, and that's what I learned from your educational class yesterday, because I picked up on the fact that no other educator talks about feeling. It's just like they assume that if you make them look good, they'll feel good. But what you're saying is contradictory, saying, no, make them feel good and comfortable with how they look. And then that's the true deep.
I can't stress that enough, because confidence is what people find sexy, not appearance. You know what I mean? The appearance of confidence is what we're attracted to. Confidence in and of itself isn't created externally, it's created internally. And if you are confident, it doesn't matter what you look like on the outside. People are attracted to confident people. So if we're able to do that, if we're able to leverage both those things together, it will affect your outward appearance. If you feel confident, people are attracted to you. You might assume it's your haircut, but it's not. It's your confidence level. And if we are truly giving that to people, then we're doing our job as barbers, as care professionals, not just for the external, but for how people feel on the inside.
Matty, Conrad, thank you ever so much for sharing your story, and you've left some, real deep, unusual, unique nuggets for the people who might be, sat at home thinking, I do the best haircuts in the world, but something's amiss. I'm sure that bit that's amiss, you filled for them. So thank you.
Thanks, Larry. I really appreciate your time. It's been great today.